Do you want a bigger mug? Is that mug big enough for you, Jeremy?
Oi, leave my mug alone. Okay? My people have been oppressed enough in this country. Please.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to the most must-see podcast in wrestling history. Welcome to PWC. I'm your host, as always, your mother's favorite podcaster, Vaz. And today we got something special for you guys. I've gathered some of my friends, and we're going to talk basically about Money in the Bank, probably about other things as well, and just have a good time and for you guys to enjoy. Trust me, these guys are not the most kosher of people, but you know what? It's fine. They're a good laugh, and we have a good chat about this all. Let me introduce you first. I've got my main man, Mr. Nash, my editor-in-chief, what do we call him? The CEO of PWC. It is Nashville up there. And then we've also got my bald eagle friend, the man who's got probably the strongest opinions when it comes to wrestling. It is Jeremy as well. What's up, guys?
That's my bald eagle pose, apparently. Look, caca. Yeah.
That actually looks like Titus O'Neil's pose.
I was going to say.
It might be. You forgot to mention the only PWC member that's actually in the Hall of Fame, like legit Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to kick this off, right?
Go for it. That's
I know we're talking about Money in the Bank. But before we talk about Money in the Bank, there's something that happened on Raw this week that I didn't think I was going to like. You know what? I go into Raw every week now. It's like completely blank slate. I don't expect anything. Not like SmackDown, not like AEW, not like TNA where I'm like ready to get disappointed, like off the bat. Raw this week, there was something that I haven't seen, if I stand to be corrected, like since the early 2000s. And that's a move that Bret Hart used to do a lot. And I saw it this week for a while, and it's that hanging figure 4 that Charlotte did. And I marked out, man, that used to be one of the... Bret Hart, I don't know if you guys remember, Bret used to do it like off the ring post.
Yeah.
And most of the time, second, he used to do it on Austin. And I don't know, I just had like a real cool mark-out moment. And Charlotte, I'll tell you something else. If they keep letting Charlotte cut the promos that she cut this week, after that whole thing, like not the whole cartoony vibe where I'm a badass and I need to try and put this thing. If you listen to the way Charlotte spoke this week, she just spoke. She just cut a promo. So, I don't know, for that reason alone, and we're going to talk about it later when we talk about our picks for Money in the Bank, I'm changing my pick for Money in the Bank. I want Charlotte to win that belt. I want to see full-blown heel Charlotte with that belt, not that tweener, in-betweeny type thing. Charlotte went full heel. You know, the last time we spoke, we didn't know where Charlotte was. I know where Charlotte is now.
So with regards to the Charlotte and that sort of stuff, we've got the PWC Monday Night Review up on our YouTube channel already. Obviously, by the time you're watching this, you've probably watched the shows already. But I do mention the figure 4 leg lock over the ring apron. And I get it's a nostalgic move. I think it was great that she pulled it off. But the way it was done, the way Rhea Ripley was hanging on the ropes, was the dumbest thing possible. Because she should have all she had to do was let go of the ropes and the hold would have fallen apart. She would have fallen over out of the ring and that would have not been a figure 4 leg lock. She was not locked in a position that she could escape. And that was my issue with that. And I did mention it in the podcast as well on the review.
I have a look at it.
Yeah, have a look at that. Like the way she was holding on, like there was nothing holding her in place to make that move look legit. Like all she had to do was let go of the ropes. They would have fallen through together, and then that would have been the end of the hold.
She sold it, though. She did sell it.
I'm gonna keep. I'll tell you why.
She was.
Okay,
She looked like she was in agony.
Okay, because obviously you haven't watched the review yet, so I haven't mentioned anything here because the review only got sent today, and we're going to broadcast this later. We're actually doing this now as I did the review. But there's a segment, and I'm going to bring this to Money in the Bank. I'm going to tie this in a beautiful transition because that's what we do here. That's how good we are. Natalia, okay, Natalia has been announced as the latest person in Money in the Bank. Okay, it was announced on Raw. Did you miss that?
Okay, no. I got it. I got it because I was like in and out for a bit because working from home as well. So
it's lockdown stuff.
But I do remember that now.
Yeah. So Natalia was announced as a contender in Money in the Bank. I'm assuming to replace Carmelo, who had to replace Bailey. They needed to, and they picked a workhorse. I think that's basically the idea why they decided Natalia. But Natalia is the Dolph Ziggler of the women's division. Okay. We don't get to see them often. But whenever we see them in a ring, whether it be Dolph or whether it be Natalia, we know we're getting a 5-star quality match. Okay. And the only reason I got excited for Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at Money in the Bank was because of the match Natalia and Charlotte had on Raw this week. Rhea and Natalia. Yeah. She made Rhea Ripley look good again. Like, I got invested in Rhea Ripley as a champion again because of Natalia, because she is that workhorse. She is the Dolph Ziggler of the women's division. And I don't care what anyone can argue with me on this one, but you know it fact.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler is the workhorse. He makes anyone look good.
I think right off the bat, I think the woman going into the Money in the Bank, I think they've got way better storylines in place. I think they've got way better. There's more buy-in. I'm sorry, AEW guys, whoever's listening, but there's more buy-in for me anyway for the lady stuff. Especially, I saw a rumor earlier. I don't know if you guys have seen it as yet. That point that we were talking about the last time about possible entries into the ladies' Money in the Bank thing, they are talking about what's her name? The ladies, the female half of the management team. Why can't I not remember her name? No, not Dewdrop, man.
Sonya Deville.
And
Sonya Deville. Yeah. I saw that she might be the last one coming in. Yeah, I heard she might be the last one coming in.
I don't know. Look, I think the sheen went off a little bit for me when Sami Zayn didn't get that spot and be in the Money in the Bank. I still can't believe that Sami Zayn is not going to
get in that match. I'm telling you, they're going to have a 9th person in that match. They have to.
Do you think? Right? They do. They replay almost the Brock spot from a few years ago, where he just runs out at some point because somebody's. And my money is on Owen. My money is on Owens not making it to that match. Somewhere along the line.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking either they're gonna have just a random 9th person in. I think Sammy's gonna weasel his way in, or before the match he's gonna take Kevin Owens out, and then they're going to have a replacement, and Sami Zayn will be that replacement. As it stands right now, I don't think Kevin Owens needs the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't think he needs to be in that match. If you look at all the other men, and we're going to talk about this now, all the other men in this match. I mean, you look at Ricochet. Ricochet needs that belt, the briefcase. He needs that push. Johnny Drip Drip doesn't really need it. But it would be fun to continue the story arc with The Miz. I think it would be great if he had won it. Mm-hmm. If you look at Riddle, he doesn't need it. All right. He's got a lot to handle with Randy Orton right now. Yeah. But I understand why he's in the match. I get that his character is built up enough to warrant a place in that match. Drew McIntyre should not be in that match at all. Okay. Yeah. Drew's has his think.
Okay, we're going to put a pin in that. We're going to come back to that one.
No, we will. We'll get. I'll get all
I,
the
I,
opinions on
I
all the
have a
guys
theory
now.
after
It's
Monday.
just mine. All right. Then we go to the SmackDown side. Big
Let's
E.
put a pin in that.
We'll come to it. We'll come to that. Big E. I don't see him winning. Okay. I don't think that. I know they're trying to push him, but I don't think they've invested enough in pushing him yet, which I think is the problem. King Nakamura doesn't need it. He just became a king. He doesn't need the title. Doesn't need the belt. So
No,
let's
kings don't need
take him out.
briefcases. When
Yeah,
was
he
the
does.
last time you saw Prince Andrew with the Henry the Fifth was often pictured with his briefcase.
Of course. So maybe. Anyway, and then Seth Rollins, who I think would probably be a good candidate to win it. Would be fun to see how he teases him in the Roman Reigns aspect of it. This is assuming Roman wins against Edge, which probably will happen. And then the last one, who I think is probably the most throwaway, is Kevin Owens, because we've already seen Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. We've seen that happening often. We haven't had proper closure on Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews in the IC title. And they've been teasing Kevin Owens and Big E to have a feud as well. So I think Kevin's got a lot on his plate right now, and he doesn't need the belt, the briefcase. But I want to hear your guys' opinions. I can see Jeremy's itching to go, so I'm going to let him wait. Nash, I want to hear your...
Let's go with Nash first.
Yeah, let's hear your opinions on
Nash first.
the 8 participants of the male Money in the Bank. Let's see how you see this panning out.
Well,
And he's made notes.
Yeah, I've been taking notes, actually.
He's made notes.
I have to agree with Vaz that Owens really doesn't need the belt. And I can actually see this happening. Zayn, mark my words, Sami Zayn's going to take out Kevin Owens before the match on pay-per-view. And then he's going to be slotted into that position where Kevin Owens is in right now. And that, I think we're going to get Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. Anytime you put those two in a ring, you're guaranteed a classic, right? Then I don't really see Ricochet with the belt. I mean, with the briefcase. Sure, the belt would do him some good, but can you really imagine Ricochet coming up with the belt, especially with all that flippy dippy stuff he does? I really don't see him carrying the belt to the ring. And just for Jeremy over there, King Henry with the briefcase, he was no King Tay Nakamura, right? Let's just get that straight, okay? So, yeah. My prediction...
I'm pretty sure he had a finishing move, but it wasn't that. I'm pretty sure he had a finishing move.
You're pretty sure, huh?
So on the lines of like a beheading, one would say.
So yeah, my prediction for the winner of Money in the Bank men's match, I think more likely from what I think and what I'm seeing, Sami Zayn's gonna win that briefcase. That's my prediction.
Okay, but let's just say that we guessing Sami Zayn's going to be entered. He's not confirmed. So out of the 8 confirmed, let's take Sami Zayn out of the equation now. Out of the 8 confirmed, who do you think would be the winner?
Well, okay, it's not going to be Drew McIntyre. He's already had a run with the title. I don't think he needs it. It's not going to be Big E because Big E and Kevin Owens have their own thing going on. Like I said, Kevin Owens, I don't see him carrying the belt. He really doesn't need it. Like I said, not Ricochet. I mean, Riddle doesn't really need the belt. He's got his own thing. Who's left, really? Who's left in there? Shinsuke Nakamura? He doesn't need it. He's got a crown. So it's the obvious winner. I mean, come on. It's got to be Johnny Drip Drip. It has to be. There's no other way. And Vaz, you said it best. Heels make the best Money in the Bank winners. It has to be him. It has to be.
And that's actually a good point, because if we look at the 8 men now in this thing, there's only 2 legitimate heels in Money in the Bank out of the men's. And that's Seth Rollins and Johnny Drip Drip. And Johnny Drip Drip is actually on the border of just being turned face, the way I'm looking at it. Now, they're playing the sympathy card a lot with Johnny Drip Drip, the comedy aspect, like they did with what's his name? Cobra Dude, Santino. He came off as a heel at the start, and then he started being funny, and then became basically the best face that you have. I mean, there's nothing greater than Santino, and his comedy was the best. So, yeah, you got that. And then you got guys like, guys that are on the border, guys like Kevin Owens, who 1 week he's a face, next week he's out there like trash talking Big E, and it's weird. It's not weird. He makes it natural, but it's weird for us when to root for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, I want to bring you in on this
He
one.
works in that role as well. Don't you?
What's that?
Because that's actually my pick for this whole thing. If this whole Zayn thing doesn't happen, my pick is Big E, because while the whole traditional heel face thing, the dynamic is there. I mean, he's more of a face than a heel. How would I put it? He plays more into the smart market for me, if you would, where I've got this briefcase and it's going, like, if you've listened to one of his promos and if you've listened to him in general, he just comes across as one of those smart guys that would be able to use the rules to their advantage.
Mm.
I don't know if that's making sense to you, but that's why I skew more towards Biggie. But let's go back to that. Let's beat that Sami Zayn horse a little bit more. Right? Let's do this. What if Owens is not the target? What if Owens is not the target? Jinder, as revenge for the whole bike thing that we just saw, we know how Jinder is an amazing bike guy. I mean, it's only 2 weeks now that he's the American Badass 2.0.
Don't even get me started on
Indian
that.
Badass.
Yo, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen on TV. He didn't even break the bike properly, man. He took a couple of panels.
Look, there's nothing that's been shoehorned more into a storyline, like shoved into a storyline, more than this bike has been. And I mean, when that showed up last week, I was like, oh, damn, this poor bike. It's not going to leave here in one piece, is it?
Hey, but look on the bright side. At least we didn't get a history lesson this week.
We did. Last week, in the continuing episode, in the continuing tales of historian McIntyre, as I like to call him, we learned about how his sword is actually from Nessie. And then this week we learned that he's actually a dragon. So yeah. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but
he's a Scottish dragon.
So he's like a Scottish fire-breathing dragon that had a conversation with Nessie at some point and slew a beast.
Yeah, we
I don't know.
We digressed a lot here. Carry on with your point. What's your point?
But anyway, back to the point. He's probably going to get jumped at some point at Money in the Bank. Right? 3-on-1. And he's taken out from this match, I mean, like, with extreme prejudice. The guy doesn't even make it to the ring. Right? He's taken off to a local medical facility. Right? Right.
Of course.
And then they play his music for him. Normal story. Doesn't come out. Like, at the end of the match. And tell me this wouldn't work with Sami Zayn's personality the way it is. And once again, we come back to that documentary. The documentary that's being teased for ages. Right? That documentary ends with Sami Zayn seeing his opportunity, running down to that ring, and he's not in that match at all. Like, at all. The same way Brock did it. The same way. And like you said, there's only 2 legit heels in there. There's 2 legit heels. We have out there, guys. I'll bet money on this. I'll bet money on this one. I'll bet my hair on this one.
Which you have none.
I don't want whatever hair you're betting. I promise you that.
I'll bet. Okay, I'll bet
what hair you're talking about.
I bet my beard.
Look, I think we can all agree.
I am so sure about the Zayn thing. I am so sure about the Zayn thing, man.
I'm 100% on board with it. I want to be on board with it. I have said it in my reviews. I've said it everywhere. Sami Zayn needs to win Money in the Bank. And he needs to do it in a way. Because if you think of it, this is going to be the first pay-per-view, okay, excluding WrestleMania, that has a live audience, a capacity live audience. All right? The pop that Sami Zayn would get doing it a la Brock style would be phenomenal. Okay. I think if someone who has benefited the most in what we're going to be calling us, I'm guessing WWE is calling the pandemic era. I don't know. Or the Thunderdome era. I don't know what funny name they're going to come up with.
The Lashley Dome era.
The Lashley Dome era. Who knows? I don't know. The Almighty era. Who knows? I think the one person who has benefited the most from this, with this non-audience, has been Sami Zayn. And the reason behind it is it's proven to WWE management, to fans, the universe, to everybody, that Sami doesn't need an audience to be good. He doesn't need to play to that audience. A live audience, I mean. Obviously, the virtual audience, he needs that. But he made what essentially is a terrible storyline, okay? It's a really bad storyline. The conspiracy storyline has happened 300,000 times in professional wrestling across 300,000 different promotions. It's a tried and tested storyline. And he somehow took it without audience participation and made it into one of the best storylines for the last year. It hasn't even normally these storylines last 6 months. This has gone on for almost a year and a half now. We've had the Sami Zayn conspiracy theory, and it's every week it's something new, which is great. And this actually could bring me to my point, bringing into Money in the Bank. We look at guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the chemistry that they've had, and more recently Ricochet and Johnny Drip Drip. I mean, their chemistry is through the roof. They've had literally 3 fantastic matches in a row. When it comes to multi-man matches and these type of styles, when you put in guys that don't necessarily mix, I mean, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens have never had the best chemistry in the ring. All right, they haven't had the showcase to show all that stuff. I mean, Drew McIntyre and Johnny Drip Drip have had, their chemistry was horrible. I mean, those segments with Miz and Bobby Lashley were bad. AJ Styles made that actually work, funny enough. But having all these type of guys in here, or having guys like Kevin Owens and Matt Riddle who have never actually competed against each other on TV, how do these styles mesh when you don't have an all-rounder like a Sami Zayn who can connect all these people together, or someone, let's say, even Jinder Mahal can actually connect. He's the type of wrestler that becomes sort of almost a unfocal point, if that makes sense. They're there to help everybody. What are you doing, Jeremy?
Oh my God, can you guys see that?
Yes.
I saw something on it that said together mode. I was like, okay, what is that?
Together mode. It's about family, man.
It's all about family, man. That's on SmackDown.
I literally
is the family show.
Xavier Woods.
I was trying to be so serious.
I noticed. No, but look, you've got points with about the chemistry thing. There's just some. I mean, if you look at the build-up for Zayn and Owens specifically going to Mania, they don't really have the long, drawn-out thing that, let's say, Edge, that constant worker that he is, had with Reigns and Daniel Bryan. And they just basically got into their program and started again exactly where they left off months ago, years ago, actually. And then with Rollins and Owens, I don't think they've had a proper feud ever since that Universal title. Has there been one? Oh no, nope. Mania last year.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But when it comes to Rollins and Kevin Owens, they can produce fantastic matches, but it feels like there's something missing when they do. That's the issue that I've got. It feels like there's a gap coming out. And Nash, I want to bring you on this one. How do you feel about the 8 participants and their chemistry that could be in this men's Money in the Bank match?
Well, obviously we know Johnny Drip Drip and Ricochet, fantastic chemistry. And then I've seen Kevin Owens and Big E do it very well in a couple of matches. I think if you look at all 8 together in like one, if like you have those little graphics where you show all of them in one, you just know for a fact that there's going to be a fantastic match because you got high flyers, you got brawlers, you got powerhouses, you got everything you could want in a Money in the Bank ladder match. And then you add ladders to the mix. And like a lot of these, lazy trope commentators love to say, the only thing that contains you in a ladder match is your creativity. So, I mean, chemistry, you can just see it just by looking at it on paper. But, and I always say there's always a but. It all depends on how it gels out with you adding ladders to the mix. We all know how good they are in just normal one-on-one matches, tag team matches, triple threats, fatal four-ways. But you're adding now weapons. It all depends if they make those weapons count or if they're just better off without the addition of weapons. That's my take on it.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that one. I think I'm just trying to organize the screen now again because Jeremy messed it up.
I'll do it again.
Together.
You're trying to be family.
There we go. That's better. My screen.
All about family. And now he's sideways. No, that was the third movie. The third movie was about drifting.
There we go. Now we sorted that again.
My kids are driving me nuts with this thing, by the way. They're rewatching.
I'm still seeing a forest.
They're rewatching all of those movies, and look, it was a testament to another great WWE guy. The Rock really brought that thing back to life. Starting to get sad, man.
All right, so we got digressed again there. Right, so we were talking. Nash, I have to agree with your sentiments on the chemistry and all that sort of stuff. I think it can be a good match. But now, when you look at Money in the Bank and you look at ladder matches, I know you're a big fan of ladder matches. I think you love them. When you look at this, you immediately going to say Ricochet, Johnny Drip Drip, and possibly Kevin Owens are going to do the big spots in ladder match because every ladder match has to have a big spot. I mean, that's a guarantee.
Given, yeah.
So you're going to have those 3 doing the big spots. I don't see Seth Rollins putting himself through a couple of ladders. I don't see Nakamura or Riddle or McIntyre putting himself through a ladder. I can see Kevin Owens jumping off a sign or something because that's Kevin Owens, and that's Ricochet and Johnny Drip Drip with the high flying, the parkour style. That's definitely going to be a given for them. But if you're now looking at the women's side, who are going to be the big spotters for that one? Because if you look at the women's side now, yes, there's still one more left. There's not a lot of high flyers in that match. There's not a lot of risk takers in that match. Just to remind you guys, we've got Naomi, who's probably the only high flyer in that match. You have.
I was about to say.
You have Asuka, who's pretty much a striker, ground type, tactical wrestler. You have Nikki Ash, which I hate the name, but anyway, who's also match wrestling type of style. Okay. You have then Natalia, who's now been entered in as well, who, let's face it, is a technical genius, not going to be high flying, jumping off ladders type of style. You have Alexa Bliss, who is weird and probably the best spot she will do.
She's technically all on her own.
Yeah. And then you go to the SmackDown side. You've got Liv Morgan, who we don't really know much about her high-flying abilities and climbing of ladders, but it's because she's been a bit, under the radar. And then you have Zelina Vega, who has wrestled one match in, I think, 10 years. So it's
Been busy with other things, guys.
Where's the spots coming from in the women's match? That's what I want to know. Jeremy, you can take it, or Nash. I don't know. Any one of you guys can take this one. I'm lost in this one.
I want to say Liv. Liv might be there because she was tagged up with Ruby Riott for quite a bit, so she might have some undercover high flying stuff in there. Naomi, I can see her taking some sick bump at some point. And aside from the finish I told you guys from the last time, that's unchanged. That's gonna be the finish. That is going to be the finish.
Just to remind the guys, because the last time we didn't actually record properly. So just remind the guys what you said. We remember, but the guys watching this won't remember.
The finish for the women's Money in the Bank is going to go like this. Somebody's going to climb that ladder. I'm not sure who just yet. But someone's going to be all the way up there. And then, using her newly found voodoo powers, Alexa Bliss will then have that Money in the Bank briefcase drop down to her, and we will have the first Money in the Bank winner via voodoo. And then something else that just dawned on me. So, that promo that they had.
Would that considered to be a big spot in Money in the Bank? Would that be the woman's spot? Is that what people are going to be talking about for the next 10 years? How Alexa Bliss voodoo won?
Do you know how I'm still trying to scrub? How I'm still trying to scrub what happened at last year's Money in the Bank out my head. I mean, the fact that he who shall not be named won the thing, and then two guys died and then got better. One guy died so badly he didn't show up for almost a whole year, and then he's on AEW now. And I think actually that those bruises that he has on his face when he debuted was probably up from falling off that building. But yeah, like I said, in WWE you can die and then you can get better. So that's a good thing.
Vince McMahon blew up, eh?
Allegedly.
Never forget that.
And then wait. I just remembered something. There was a promo before Nikki, whatever her name is right now.
Nikki Ash.
Before her match. Where she was cutting a promo about flying and everything else. There's going to be a spot with her off that ladder. She's going to fly come Money in the Bank.
She can't fly because she's almost a superhero.
Well, she's going to try. And how well that goes is, I mean, she's got some savvy in that ring. No doubt about it. But how it's going to translate to the fans and everything else, I would have actually given her the Hurricanes music just for Sunday. If you want to have those fans,
what is Molly Holly's superhero song? She had the superhero song as well. When she was, I can't remember her. What was her superhero name? It wasn't Molly Holly. It was something else. Was it Super Molly?
I don't know. So, yeah. That sounds like a version of car oil. Super Molly. It's like.
Just quick one. Nash, just move over to your side. You're under the screen a little bit.
Yeah, so just picking up on everything that Jeremy just offloaded. Superhero in training. That's Nikki Ash.
That was Rosie.
Almost a superhero, not superhero in training. That was Rosie. Rosie was superhero
in training.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to edit that out. I know.
But I know this is going to be on YouTube, so I'm not going to say what the innuendo behind that whole abbreviation was. But yeah. But every time I think of Nikki Ash, I just can't say that name without thinking of her original name. It's like you're trying to take away her originality of her original name. And when you say Nikki Ash, there's only one thing I can think of, and I think you and Jeremy might know what I'm trying to get at, but I'm not going to say it here. You just use your imagination. Nikki Ash and her whatever. And yes, Jeremy, people can die in WWE and come back. Just ask Vince McMahon. He got exploded in a limousine. And then we got.
Okay.
I think the next time we have this discussion, we must just have a discussion of how many people have died in WWE and came back. I think there's at least an hour worth of content.
If you go back to the Undertaker's early matches, he killed loads of people because he came out with a damn body bag.
Didn't he hang Big Boss Man from the ring? Hey, didn't Big Boss Man once hang from the steel cage? Yeah.
From the Hell in a Cell.
And he sacrificed Stephanie McMahon.
Actually, there was only one show that never came back.
Uncle Ben.
Should I mention the name? Great American Bash 2005. Is that good enough? Muhammad Hassan. Remember him?
Yes.
The only guy
that was killed off TV and never came back.
A shame, man.
So bad. He never wrestled again.
I think Muhammad Hussein was actually a fantastic character. I just think the timing was so wrong with him.
So wrong. So wrong.
Yeah. He was a fantastic character. I mean, it was perfect for the timing and everything, but
then things had to happen in London.
He was fantastic. And I'm actually going to tell this in. Imagine him with a Money in the Bank briefcase.
Oh, I can imagine it. I can picture it. Definitely, I can picture it. So,
getting back on that. Yeah, let's finish off what you wanted to say. Yes, Nash.
Getting back to Jeremy's point, I know that you would like to see Bliss win using her voodoo, the Udo powers, but wouldn't that be very Otis-esque, if you ask me? You know, because wasn't he like he had magic powers last year? It fell and he grabbed it. Do you really want a situation like that again?
Do you want Jeremy to get angry? He's gonna walk out on us talking about Otis.
I'm not talking about Otis. I'm talking about Cam from Modern Family. You don't know. I thought you liked Cam from Modern Family.
He even walked out on us.
Oh God! Is he coming back?
I think he's got a phone call.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I'll continue.
Continue, yeah.
So, like you mentioned, there's one slot left open. I could actually see Carmella getting that last spot. For some reason or the other, I can envision her getting that spot. Vega's not going to win. WWE's really mad at her. Liv Morgan, I have seen some of her work in other promotions, and I think she has a lot more to offer than what WWE is letting on. If they let her just do some of the moves that I've seen her do in other promotions, then she'll add a lot of value in terms of high spots when it comes to a ladder match. Naomi, guaranteed. I'm not just one. I'm thinking at least 2 to 3 high spots Naomi's going to offer. And I could see maybe 2 just being solo high spots and the other one probably being a collaborative high spot. Asuka, she's not going to win that. Like, it's a given. Nikki Ash, she's still like with Bliss, so she's still kind of getting there. So I don't see her really getting that briefcase. Natalia's been there and back. Natalia is like the Dolph Ziggler, like you said, of of the women's division. She always gets there, but not quite gets there, if you get what I mean. So Bliss is the most likely winner, and I don't see her adding many spots, especially now you're looking at a live audience, which if you put it in context, trying to do a high spot or doing any of these superhero-esque things are much more tougher with a live crowd there than with, like how they used to do it pre-recorded from the Thunderdome, for example. So it's going to be a tough one to pull off, but I can see it happening. And looking at, who is on this list of the women's match, really, Bliss looks like the only logical option to win this match. And in terms of high spots, yeah, Naomi and Liv, I think, are going to add us or give us those spots. Maybe even Nikki Ash.
Okay. Yeah, look. When it comes to the women's Money in the Bank, I'll be honest, I'm not excited for it. I don't think there's enough quality in the match to be excited. Like, when you think of the men, you really think Ricochet and Johnny Jip, and this is really excitement. Seth Rollins' character work has been fantastic the last couple of months. And then you look at the women's division, and I think it exposes WWE's women's division a lot. I think it exposes that they only have one or two household names. And they haven't built up the rest. I mean, when you look at the women's division, when you think of household names, you think of Charlotte Flair, you think of Becky Lynch, Bayley, Sasha Banks.
The four horsemen of NXT, basically, yeah.
That is it. That's who their women's division is centered around. And it's fine to center around one or two individuals. I mean, the Attitude Era did that for 10 years. I mean, it was all about Stone Cold and The Rock. They were the focal points of that thing. Look at Ruthless Aggression Era. It was all focused around Edge and, let's say, John Cena and Randy Orton. There's the core people that they bring in. And the problem is right now, out of the core people for the women's division, only one of them is active. Only Charlotte Flair is active. Bayley is out injured. Becky Lynch is on maternity. Sasha Banks is busy filming movies. So they only have Charlotte Flair in that, and they haven't built up the mid-card to be in that position.
That's where the problem is.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've tried. I mean, Bianca Belair has come up and has tried. Welcome back. We're talking about the women's division in WWE at the moment.
Phone call.
No worries. So if you look at the women's division right now, as we're busy talking about me and Nash agree, we're not excited for the women's Money in the Bank because they don't have. You're not excited for that match, the ladder match. I mean, there's not enough star power in that match. If you look like I was talking about the spots, we don't know where it's going to come from. Naomi, we know that. The other superstars are feeling a bit flat, and this is my problem with WWE specifically right now, and not NXT. NXT is doing fantastic with their women's division. It is exciting to watch their women's division.
Unbelievable.
Raw and SmackDown don't have that star power. I mean, they're focusing it on Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bayley. Out of those four, those are the four big names in there. Am I right, Jimmy? Can you agree with me?
What about those two ladies that we've never seen wrestle ever before on TV that showed up on SmackDown last week? That was out of nowhere.
Which two ladies?
No. Those two ladies that came out on the tank. We haven't seen them before, and they've mysteriously dropped some of their names. Like on the way to SmackDown, they've dropped. That's the thing that I don't understand. That's the disconnect for me. You see those same ladies, and that's why I'm dreading Toni Storm getting to SmackDown, because she's probably going to get there, and we're going to start calling her Tony. TS.
No, look.
I don't know.
The WWE did release a thing. Their names are not shortened. They're still Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart. Their tag name is Shotzi and Knox, or Knox and Shotzi, whatever it is.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You can't. So we've had.
It was a legit thing. They actually released that. They tagged them Shotzi and Knox, but it's still Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Knox. But don't even get me started on that, because that is the biggest cluster F in history of being caught up. I mean, you already had an established tag team in Shotzi and Ember, right? You spent the last 3 months promoting Tegan Knox's return to NXT with a stupid ass battery charging thing,
Yes.
only to have
World's
break up a
slowest
tag
battery.
team and end a return on the same week.
But that's what they did with the Hurt Business. That's literally what they did with the Hurt Business. They keep breaking up these tag teams and they put them together. They're great tag teams, and then they break them up for them to do nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Same can be said for Retribution.
Guys, Retribution. I mean, you got those two guys. They've got like everything is written for them. Everything is written for them to run the tag division. Everything. You take these guys. You break them up. You don't have them on TV every week. Mustafa, I'm sorry, Nash. Coming back to that whole foreign American foreigner thing, but he's probably one of the best. You can put him, you can put Jinder, and you can put Muhammad Hussein in the same category. I know that sounds hella racist, but you can put them into that same Iron Sheik bracket, and they make this great smarmy heel that comes out. It's a great throwback heel. It's a great throwback heel, the American foreigner heel that comes in there. And if you watch the promos, I know we've gone way off Money in the Bank now, but just bear with me for a second. If you look at the promos that he's been cutting backstage with Mansoor, dude, those are gold.
I'm actually glad you brought this up. Because I love this persona from Ali, Mustafa Ali. I think it is fantastic. I think as the squirmy veteran of the game, trying to teach Mansoor all the underhanded tactics and thinking with his head and not playing with his heart type of concept, I love it. And what I love about this more than anything else is that Mansoor and Ali are pretty much the exact same person when it comes to style in the ring. They've got a very, very similar style. And I'm loving this whole, is Mansoor going to be corrupted or not? That's what I'm loving. And I see we've lost Jeremy again.
Yeah, but I actually want to pick it up because there are some things that he mentioned as well as you mentioned that I want to, just pick up on just quickly before we get back onto the track with Money in the Bank. First of all, the name changes are something that I have never, ever liked. It's one of my pet peeves about WWE. Anybody that comes up, either from outside the company or even from NXT, and then they move them to the main roster, they have like a completely different name change. Like, for example, we saw ACH, right? On what was it? I forgot what it was, World Collide, I believe. And then he came in. He was ACH, and this was on WWE TV, on the network. He was ACH. Then they want us to believe when he debuts on NXT that he's Jordan Miles, right? And then you have Chad Gable. Chad Gable is a great name. There was no reason to change it whatsoever. And then you go and give him an absolutely, I hate Shorty G. Not the guy. Not the character, but the name Shorty G is like so demeaning to. It's like they made him look like a fool, and that's not the first time. Antonio Cesaro became Cesaro. Mustafa Ali became Ali. There's a whole long list of those. I don't even want to go into it because it just irritates me.
There's a few that I don't mind. There's a few that when they've changed, it was changed for the better. For example, Elias. Okay, Elias was known as Samson Elias or Elias Samson. It was stupid. Elias sounded better. It was better on the tongue. The same with Mustafa Ali. I like just Ali.
Yeah.
Sorry. And anyway, going back to now Mustafa Ali. Antonio Cesaro is another one. Cesaro just sounds better than saying Antonio Cesaro. But names like Riddle.
That's your
Riddle.
person.
Do that really need to get rid of the Matt? And just have it as Riddle. All right.
Exactly.
And I know Jeremy's going to love this one, Otis. In NXT, Otis was Otis Dragunov. That was brilliant.
Drozovic, yeah.
Drozovic, whatever it was. And then they just changed it to Otis.
But yeah, like, okay, you are entitled to your own opinion. I prefer Mustafa to Ali.
Yeah, look,
But
it's all about opinions and stuff like that. But now the aspect of coming, like, say, for ACH, or let's use the Miracle, Mike Bennett. That's actually a good one. When he came to WWE, he was changed his name to Mike Kanellis.
Took his wife's names.
But there's a reason behind that. Is because WWE didn't own the rights to Mike Bennett. That was still owned by Impact.
Still, they could have.
So they forced to change names. That's why you get a lot of guys that when they join WWE, their indie name is actually owned by another company or it's owned by somebody else. And WWE only wants wrestlers that they own the name to. There's very few wrestlers that they don't own the name to. Even John Cena, which is John Cena's legal name, it's what is on his social identity card, is owned by WWE. The name John Cena is owned by WWE. You know, I think if I was, so that's why they forced. Like ACH was not owned by WWE. WWE said we're not using ACH because we're not paying another company to use his name. That's basically the concept when it comes to that name changes.
I have no gripe with that. I understand the legal part of that, but my problem is when you take someone from NXT and then you move them to like the main roster, you completely change their name. They're like Chad Gable to Shorty G was absolutely, in my opinion, the worst name change. And I mentioned this many times in my blogs and reviews that I have up on pwcworld.co.za. I absolutely despise the name, like Shorty G. But yeah, like you said, some names are for the better. Paul White to Big Show was much better. Moving on, and then here's another thing. Like, there's no connection from NXT to WWE. Like you mentioned, Nox just returned on NXT, and we were all expecting her to continue the storyline, right? But then you see her on SmackDown like 2 or 3 days later, and now she's being tossed into the tag team division. So it almost seems like there's a disconnect between the main roster and NXT, and that's something that they need to work on. And that's another thing, like, they don't have storyline continuity. Like, where's Raw Underground gone to? Where has it gone to? Nobody knows. Like, storylines are deserted in the middle of things. Sometimes they're like muddled all over the place. And and just coming back to Jeremy's point on the terrorist stuff, yes, terrorist angles are great, but have you seen what Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander did on 205 Live? If you look at that and you compare to what they're doing now, and he's not doing the same kind of stuff that he did on 205 Live. Sure, it's good to change, and maybe sometimes it gets boring, but it's better to adapt, develop, get a little bit better on it. And that's why I think that if Mustafa Ali stayed the way he was on 205 Live, he would contribute so much more to Money in the Bank ladder matches. The spots that he could pull off, and if they put Cedric Alexander in there and kept him the same way that he was on 205 Live, they would put so much of value, inject so much of life into a Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't think Cedric Alexander's been in a Money in the Bank ladder match. I look at him, and when I looked at back at NXT, he is almost like he could be the modern day Shelton Benjamin, because we all know how much of value Shelton Benjamin added to Money in the Bank. He was in a whole hell of a lot of them. And every time he was in a Money in the Bank ladder match, he was the highlight reel of those. You're looking at WrestleMania 21, 22, 24, 25, 26. I could go on. He provided so much value for the Money in the Bank ladder matches. And that's exactly why I feel like, even with this women's Money in the Bank ladder match, you look at it, there's not much in terms of spots except for Naomi. It's because they change a lot of the guys up. They don't let the guys shine. Like, we didn't know how good Mandy Rose was until she was given the opportunity to show us, and she showed us. And Dana Brooke did the same. When they gave her the ball, she showed them how good that she could be in the ring. And that's why I feel like the Money in the Bank women's match is falling flat. They're not giving enough women the opportunity to just say, go out there and do what you could do. Steal the show. Don't put like set the brakes at a certain limit for them. Tell them to go out there and do what they need to do to make that 100%. Match right value. And that's where this women's match is lacking, is because they don't allow them to just go out there and steal the show.
100%, 100%. All right, we're gonna stick with Money in the Bank now because we have digressed a lot. So I think,
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other matches in Money in the Bank, and we're gonna start off with the WWE title match, which is Bobby Lashley taking on Kofi Kingston. And we saw the return of the ruthless Bobby Lashley on Raw on Monday, where he basically told MVP to get rid of the girls, get rid of the champagne, get rid of this fancy stuff. We're here for business. And I think this puts on a nice, better edge for Bobby Lashley. I think he was always going to beat Kofi. I didn't see Kofi ever getting a victory over him and winning the title. But I think what this does is build up to that eventual SummerSlam match that we all predicting is going to happen against Brock Lesnar. I think having him strip off this high-style lavishing thing, with all the golds and the drinks and all that, is going to play in nicely into Bobby Lashley. And maybe even get back, to dominant Bobby Lashley from TNA days. I want to know what you think. Yeah. When it comes to Bobby Lashley and his newfound edge. Let's call it like an excuse the pun.
Yeah, I like how you did the edge thing. That was nice. It's a shame that Jeremy's not actually here right now. I would love to bring up the headband because I know he loves the headband.
Headband. We all love the headband. Rest in peace, headband. That's all I say.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we all know Kofi's not going to win, guaranteed. I mean, and it's fine. Kofi's had his time in the sun. WrestleMania 35, he won the title. He was the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's the first person out of the African continent to win the WWE Championship, I believe.
Correct.
And
correct.
Yeah, I like how Lashley is now going back to his origins, so to speak. If you look at Lashley when he first started, way back when, we're looking at like 2005-06 ECW days, he wasn't ready. He had the look, he had everything to be a star, except I think he was a bit green, he wasn't ready, and he just didn't have charisma. Either that or he wasn't allowed to show charisma, because we all know Vince McMahon loves to make guys into machines. And I personally don't like that. I mean, if a guy has a charisma, let him go out there and show it. Then when he went to TNA, he absolutely dominated. And we have a good friend of ours by the name of Pete, who absolutely loves Bobby Lashley in TNA. In fact, he loves everything about the original TNA. So, I mean...
anything TNA from 2002 to 2006. That was Pete's. Yeah.
He loves that TNA, and he absolutely dominated in TNA. And when he came back to WWE, we sort of kind of knew he was coming back, but when he came back, we were so utterly disappointed. He came back as a face, and okay, that's good for a few 4 or 5 minutes. Batista came back as a face. We saw how well that worked out. He had to be changed into a heel like a week into his return. And they did the same mistake with Lashley. Great. Have a pop, have him come out as a face, and then go absolutely heel on everyone instantly. So it changes the mood. It gives him great momentum coming in. But they didn't do that, did they? No. WWE, as usual, screws it all up. They make him into this face that nobody likes. Then they had this utterly stupid storyline with the Lashley sisters and Sami Zayn, which was absolutely, I can't even tell you how much I hated that storyline.
Less said about that, the better.
Yes, exactly. Now I feel like Lashley is coming into his own. For a while, it was okay to have him wear the suits and have the girls and the champagne. It hurt business. So he was being a bit businessy, acting like that VIP. But now he's coming to that point where he's stripped away all of that and is going back to the original raw Lashley. And I can feel that charisma now suits him in this new persona. And it's what he's going to need going into SummerSlam, facing Brock Lesnar. And I mentioned this a while back. There was a tweet that I saw about Lashley. where people back in like 2007 or 8 referred to Lashley as the Black Lesnar. And I can see that the comparisons they made, which was okay. And I'm so looking for, I'm a person who loves high flying. I'm a person who loves those hardcore ladder matches. But I occasionally, I do like to see two powerhouses get it on. Goldberg and Lesnar was good for the 4 minutes that it was on, and I praise WWE for making those matches short. We all know that we do not want to see Goldberg and Lesnar go on for half an hour. We will get bored out of our minds.
We remember the WrestleMania match, yes.
I'm glad it was as short as it was. I'm glad they just went straight to the spots. They had Spotomania, and it was over. Fantastic.
I thought about the previous one with Stone Cold as the guest referee. That was the bad one. That was, I think, a 20-minute match, which I think only like 5 minutes of actual wrestling. The rest was just staring at each other.
Yeah. That was terrible. One of the worst matches.
Speaking of Lashley now, and like, I don't know if you've watched Raw yet or not while we're recording this. But
I haven't yet.
When you do, and you're gonna watch that promo at the end of Lashley, it took me back to the old school heel persona of looking directly at that camera, and you know exactly who he was talking to. Like, he had zoned in. He basically epitomized what the great powerhouse heel is supposed to be. And I think that's going to play a big card going forward. I think it's I feel like his character had gotten a bit stale in the fact that every week he was coming up with the girls, and he was all flashy and arrogant, and I think that grew stale very quickly, and I think WWE realized that it grew stale very quickly, and then switched it up and brought in this old school heel, which I think was what it needed.
But have you seen there was a tweet that went around. I don't know if you've seen Brock Lesnar's new look yet.
The hipster Lesnar with his man bun.
Yeah. I don't know how the crowd's going to, because we're going to get a live crowd at Money in the Bank, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a live crowd going forward every week, including SummerSlam.
Correct.
I don't know how the crowd's going to react, because if you remember, Sheamus went off and did a movie one time, I think for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When he came back with that mohawk, he was made fun of verbatim week after week. Everyone was like, "You look stupid."
Stupid.
Exactly, the same one. I got a feeling that the same charm's going to resonate for Lesnar when he comes back looking like the way he is, unless he changes his look before he makes his first appearance back on.
I hope he comes back with that hair, and I hope the crowd shout, "You look stupid," and I want to see Lesnar's reaction to "You look stupid," because if we get this match, if this happens, and we get the SummerSlam match, I almost put money on it that Lesnar will be the new champion. I think he's going to come back and he's going to win the belt. I
don't want that.
And I think the reason behind that is if he wins that belt, we're going to have at Survivor Series Roman Reigns versus Lesnar again, rather than Lesnar versus Lashley versus Roman Reigns.
I think that nobody wants.
I know you don't, but I see it going that way. But I'm going to switch gears, and speaking of Roman Reigns, let's talk about the WWE Universal title match between the tribal chief Roman Reigns taking on a little bit more psychotic Edge, I think. Almost on the border of just, going crazy over his obsession with Roman and the family. We saw on SmackDown, he put both Uso brothers in cross faces with a pole across the mouths. And the rumor going around is that this match will be changed to a submission match. With obviously Roman Reigns being showcasing rather the guillotine wrestling move that he's been doing, the little variation one that he's been doing lately, and of course Edge putting the crossface on basically everybody that walks into the ring nowadays. What are your thoughts on that? Let's start with that. What do you think about having it as a submission match rather than just a straightforward match?
I don't agree with it at all. I get it because, Roman Reigns has been doing that new move, And obviously, we know Edge graduated from the Stu Hart submission dungeon, so it makes sense. Edge can do submissions, but changing it to submission match is not going to help situations. It's just going to make things worse, in my opinion. It wasn't going to be a great match if you just had Edge and Reigns, just going at it. But now you're adding a submission match. It's just going to dilute the whole situation completely. Obviously, we know, well, I don't think Edge is going to win. The whole cycle thing, we've seen it before. I mean, 2010, when he got drafted from SmackDown to Raw, and he was so upset that all his plans for, SmackDown went up in smoke. We've seen that before. I think this time it's almost a repeat, but not at that heightened level that it was back in like 2010. And Reigns, he's going to retain. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. He's going to retain, and he's going to go on to SummerSlam to face, the rumored opponent is John Cena. And like you were mentioning, Lesnar versus Reigns, I do not want to see that again. We've seen it too many times before. I'm sick of it. I really don't want to see it. I don't want to see Lesnar with the belt. I don't want to see him anywhere near the belt ever again. It was absolutely terrible.
Maybe put it like this, Nash. Would you prefer to see Lesnar and Reigns, or let's say Reigns and Bobby Lashley, or Cena Lashley, or Cena Lesnar? Because that's the situation that we're going to be in. We could have John Cena taking on Brock Lesnar.
We're not, because Cena has film things nowadays. He's like The Rock. John Cena has become exactly what he mocked The Rock for way back when in like 2011, 10 years ago.
Once in a lifetime.
Twice in a lifetime, exactly. So I don't.
Once in a lifetime, part 2. Thanks, sorry guys, work things.
No worries.
No, it's cool, man.
We're just talking about the WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania. The Money in the Bank match. Roman Reigns taking on
I've been
Edge.
listening. I was just off camera on this side over here. I was just like literally here, and yeah, okay. I've got stuff to say, but I'm gonna let Nash finish. Nash, I'm gonna let you finish, okay?
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to see. I don't think Cena is going to be at Survivor Series, honestly speaking. And I would rather see Reigns versus Lashley than Reigns versus Lesnar. And I don't want to see Lesnar win the title. I don't want to see Cena win the title. Reigns and Lashley have to retain at Money in the Bank at SummerSlam. You have the floor, Jeremy.
Okay. So going back to that Lashley bit that you were talking about just now. I'm glad that they've gotten rid of the whole Lashley's ladies thing. It was something that just didn't need to be there. I like the fact that they actually added something and ended it as part of the storyline. It wasn't something that just dropped away at some point. It was just where we put Raw on this week, and Lashley was just suddenly Captain Insano, and I don't want anybody around me and anything else. I like the fact that they've given it that arc had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a definite end, where he like completely wrecked the whole MVP's VIP lounge thing. I'm glad that happened. 2, what's wrong with the submission match? And this is definitely the way Edge has been playing off with that whole steel bar thing in everybody's mouth. I mean, it's probably one of the weirdest submission holds I've seen. And as a lifelong UFC fan, and I mean, I've been watching UFC from the time Dan Severn was around. That's probably one of the weirdest submission holds that I've ever seen.
Well, essentially it's a crossface without the crossface.
It's an assisted crossface.
Yeah.
If anything, you would understand this coming from like the whole horse background and everything else. It looks like a bridle. It looks like they're putting a bit in the. It
looks like they're trying to put a bit in the mouth.
That's literally what it looks like.
And it just makes it funny that he's trying to put a bit on Reigns, right?
Yes. It writes itself, guys. it writes itself. Sometimes the joke writes itself. You don't need to add anything else. He was putting a bit on a guy named Reigns. Thank you. I'll be all week. But I think the submission match works. I think the submission match works on several levels. Because think about it. Reigns isn't going to lose this. Reigns isn't losing anything for a long time. And at the end, no matter how it ends, and Rollins is probably going to cost Edge something in that match. And at the end, I see like 2 run-ins at the end of that match. Well, actually, not actually a run-in, but Lesnar coming back to challenge Reigns. Remember, we've had that match. We've had that match before. We haven't had Brock Lesnar minus Paul Heyman versus the head of the table. And
So
the head of the table...
You're still gunning for Paul Heyman on a pole match.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Bro,
Calm down, Mr. Russo. Calm down.
Bro, this is gonna happen, bro. You know, somewhere in there, someone's marking out over that whole thing. Because
bro, come on, bro. It's gonna be great, bro.
Come on, bro. It's gonna happen, bro.
On the ladder, bro. On a pole, bro.
Hey, Heyman on a pole match.
All right, let's talk about the final match on the card. It was added on Monday, and that is the Viking Raiders taking on AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team titles. A storyline that has basically materialized out of pettiness, if that makes sense. And basically, they bumped into each other backstage, and all of a sudden they're in a heated feud. We did get to see the singles debut of Omos, and it looked pretty much the same as his tag team debut. He didn't move much around in the ring, just chucked people. But with that being said, impressively, he threw Eric, who's 300 odd pounds, like he was nothing. And I get WWE is promoting this big behemoth of a man, and AJ Styles is the small little guy that's the brains behind the operation. What are your guys' thoughts on this tag team match? Do you guys think it's going to have a shocking change that Viking Raiders are going to win? Or do you think they're going to continue on with AJ and Omos dominating a terrible tag team division?
Exactly. I think you summed it up right there with that final statement. It feels like an afterthought. It feels too much, and it's a championship match. It's a championship. Those belts should mean something. And when the New Day had it, it did. As much as it was the guys are the comedy guys. Look, and lots of people.
I'm gonna just interrupt you. Sorry with that. I get what you're saying with the prestigious. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes. What you say? Yes, we get
the prestige of the titles. I get what you're saying. And when New Day had it, it felt like it was when they have tag team titles, it feels like it's bigger. Or when the Usos had the titles, it felt like it was a focal point. And I'm going to give full credit now to AJ Styles, because I think AJ is trying his damnedest to make those tag team belts look legit. He mentions it every time he's in the ring, whether it's a singles match or not. He mentions that he's a tag team champion with Omos. He protects Omos a lot in that to prove to the point that they are a unit. I just think the rest of the tag team division on Raw is not up to par with what the New Day and AJ Styles and Omos are. And it's weird me saying that, because we've got guys like the Viking Raiders who have been tag teams for many, many years, even outside the WWE. They were tag team. We've got guys like T-Bar and whatever the other useless name is of the reckoning. I don't know what it was. T-Bar and Mace. That's his name. They've looked good as a unit, but the thing is, they're not getting promoted. They're not getting pushed as a tag team, and that's the problem. And SmackDown's got the same issue. SmackDown has Street Profits, Mysterios, and now the Usos. and Street Profits have been made to look like idiots in the last couple of weeks.
And the Modern Family guys. Don't forget that.
Yeah, Alpha Academy. I mean, but again, why as fans right now must we be invested in a tag team division, all right, that is basically the same two teams winning the titles back and forth for the last. I mean, New Day are what, 11-time tag team champions.
11 times.
Usos are 7-time tag team champions. This isn't something that we. And it's something that we want to watch. I mean, I personally don't like tag team wrestling. I'm not a big fan of tag team wrestling. I never have been. Okay, I always prefer singles wrestling. Don't give me that look. I mean, it's my opinion. Okay, but that being said,
okay,
I've enjoyed tag team matches in the past. Like there is certain matches that I enjoy that were great. I mean, we look at I think it was maybe 99, maybe 2000. When we had the two-head trip, Stone Cold and Triple H.
Two-man power.
Two-man power trip. I like that tag team. I thought they were great. I'm actually disappointed they didn't get enough time because of injuries. They would have been a fantastic heel tag team. I enjoy DX. I thought DX, when it was still just Triple H and Shawn Michaels, I didn't like it when they added everybody else and it just became over, kind of like NWO.
The NWO.
I enjoy tag teams. I just find tag team wrestling sometimes very disjointed, especially in the modern day era. Okay.
Yes,
if we're talking tag team, 80s and 90s, they were fantastic. Yeah. But like, I'm looking at AEW, okay? I'm looking at AEW, for example. Every single tag team match that they have had since their inception has been exactly the same. It's ended, and whether it's the Young Bucks or somebody else, it's ended with a massive spot fest at the end. Somebody got bladed, and that was the end of the tag team match. And then they go and stamp on, greatest tag team division of all time. No. We don't want to watch, like, whether it's the Young Bucks or Revival or whoever it is.
Tag team. I grew up in the greatest tag team era ever. Ever. I'll fight you over this. I grew up with Demolition. I grew up, as much as he didn't wrestle, I grew up with Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase in a tag team. And Ted DiBiase and IRS. Basically, Ted DiBiase with anybody. High energy. And I can remember these tag teams. I'm literally counting them off as I go. The Hearts were around.
Yeah, Mega
Demolition were my... Dude. Oh, no, look, yeah, brother.
I'm not arguing that tag team wrestling isn't good. I'm just saying.
No, it's not where it used to be.
I grew up watching 90s. Okay, I grew up watching the 90s wrestling. I grew up watching.
You grew up watching wrestling cowboys.
You know, I grew up with when the tag teams that I grew up with were the Guns. Okay, we had Billy and Bart Gunn. That was my tag team at that point in time, where I had the end of the Road Warriors before one of them passed away. You know, that's what I had. I didn't get the great tag teams of the past.
Yeah. I just realized that show that we're going to do, where we talk about people that died on screen, that's going to be amazing. Because we're going to have to talk about that.
I just realized that as it came through my head.
We're going to have to talk about Hawk.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, anyway, we've digressed a bit on this whole entire show. We haven't actually spoken about the main points we were supposed to speak about. But getting back to Omos and the Viking Raiders. Okay, let's go back to what we're actually supposed to be talking about. Nash, I'm going to ask you, because I think Jeremy's had his say already. How do you see this match going? Do you see retaining, or do you see a new champion?
I definitely see retention because, I mean, and I've had the sentiment since the Viking Experience, Raiders, whatever their name is now, they debuted. They were better off in NXT, and I always say that, the tag teams are just always better off when they're in NXT. When they come up to the main roster, it doesn't translate well. Yeah. Look at, for example, the Ascension. 100%. excellent excellent tag team on NXT. They come up to main roster TV.
I think Ascension are still the longest reigning NXT tag team champion.
They are the longest reigning, yeah. And but then when they come up to the main roster, absolute just they made them look like idiots, basically. Just to put it mildly, they made them look like absolute idiots on the main roster. And they're doing the same thing with Street Profits.
Those two guys on NXT, the tag team as well, the Vaudevillains, I think they were.
Vaudevillains, yeah. Aiden English and
those
Simon
guys
Gotch.
were. That was before I really got to the whole NXT thing. But I remember watching a match of theirs. They were good.
Even Nash's favorite, Enzo Amore and Big Cass, were great in NXT.
You want me to walk out?
You can't deny that. Nash, you can't deny it. They were over in NXT. Yes, Amore is an idiot and probably one of the worst wrestlers ever. But the fact remains, Enzo and Cass were huge in NXT. With Carmella as their valet, they were massive in NXT. When they came to the main roster, they had a huge pop. I mean, they debuted after the Dudleys match, and it was great. People were into it, but then limitations happened. Everybody got to see how bad of a wrestler Enzo Amore is, and the fact that this team was actually built around Big Cass. And Vince McMahon's, he's hard on for big wrestlers. That's basically what it was. And I think the reason behind the Vaudevillains not doing well on main roster is because they didn't fit the mold of what Vince McMahon wanted for tag team division. I think that is the key thing.
Vince McMahon's vision
there's a record somewhere. I think this is probably what really grates Nash's cheese about this whole thing. The fact that there's a record somewhere that says Enzo Amore has a win over Austin Aries and over what is that? What's the proper word for us to use to call Park? What do we call him? Because we can't use his AEW name. We have to call him Park.
Adrian Neville is what you can call him.
Adrian Neville. Oh my God, Adrian Neville. Oh, and I heard you guys talking about the whole the IP matters about name ownership. Man, that's a sticky conversation.
Yeah.
That's why he was called Warrior legally.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap this up. We've got our all the conversations we can possibly get. Quick wrap up. We're gonna start with Nash first. Predictions, just to clarify everything, and then we can laugh at each other later on or next week after we get everything wrong, because WWE, they're probably gonna add like some random thing that no one's gonna expect. But let's go. Men's Money in the Bank winner, female Money in the Bank winner, Roman Reigns match, probably Lashley match, and let's do the tag team division match. Take it away, Nash. Let's hear your predictions.
Right, so like I said, men's Money in the Bank match. My money is on Sami Zayn if he gets added, but if not, my money's on Johnny Drip Drip. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Bliss, 100%. There's nobody else I see winning that. Reigns and Edge, obviously Reigns. Lashley and what's his face? Obviously Lashley's going to win. Like, there's no doubt about it. And what was the other one? The tag team match? Yeah. AJ Styles and Omos for the win.
All right. Jeremy, let's hear yours.
Not that far off the Nash's actually. I think the major champions, the belts stay exactly where they are. Makes no sense for anybody to move off them. Money in the Bank. I'm still going with Zayn. Somehow Zayn is going to be in that match. If not, Biggie. For me, Biggie is going to be. It has to have that something. They're going to have to push him at some point, and I think it makes sense for him to have that whole promo afterward, that whole video package of him climbing the ladder and posing on the top with that Money in the Bank briefcase. Women's Money in the Bank, man, I'm not moving. You're not budging me on this one. Alexa Bliss via Voodoo. That's how she wins. What else? What else? Did I miss anything?
That's
Tag
it.
team
That's it.
match.
You covered everything.
I don't know. I think I might change after today. I think I might change on that whole Charlotte thing. I think I might go with Charlotte instead of Rhea.
I actually forgot
If
about that.
only
Yeah.
just to see, if only just to see Charlotte cut those promos that she did. Not with the Queen's voice, not with the smarmy heel voice, just in a normal voice. Speak the way you are. That's it.
Mhm.
Charlotte sounds hella menacing. She sounds
All right.
like a proper badass.
I'll give you mine just so you have it on record as well. Both champions, male champions, are retaining. That's Roman and Bobby are going to retain. I don't see them dropping the titles so close to SummerSlam, especially with all the rumors going around of the big matches at SummerSlam. Tag team match. Again, not really invested much into this one, but I think AJ and Omos will probably hold on to those titles and maybe set up for a big feud in SummerSlam, something, maybe a returning tag team or something out of the dust. I don't know, maybe RK Bro and AJ and Omos at SummerSlam, I'm thinking maybe. Women's match, I was originally saying I think Rhea Ripley was going to continue, but I think the Rhea Ripley era, let's call it that, has run its course. I think Charlotte is going to be I think Charlotte's going to take this one, and then I think the thing is, she takes it, then I don't see who her competitor will be at SummerSlam. I can't see who it's going to be, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to go with Charlotte anyway on this one. We'll see what WWE does with their storyline going forward. The women's Money in the Bank, we still have that one participant that hasn't been announced, which we'll probably get on Friday, if not on the day. But with the 7 that we have, I'm going with Alexa as well. I like Jeremy's theory of voodoo. I think WWE is crazy enough to actually do that. However, if
here comes the asterisk, here comes a little caveat to the whole thing.
If the surprise entrant is Becky Lynch, who has been training in the PC and has been getting into shape to get back into the ring, if she is the surprise entry, the last entry, Becky Lynch is going to be Money in the Bank, the man in the bank.
I see that. I see that happening. That's
right.
What, yeah, I could see that.
And then for the men's, again, I'm not changing it. I've said this for the last 3 weeks. Sami Zayn is going to win it, 100%. I'm putting it out there in the universe because we need this to happen. But for some unknown reason, if it doesn't, and I have to pick one of the 8 that are participating, it's going to be one that I know will never happen, but I really want it to happen because I think he deserves the push, and that's Ricochet. I think Ricochet deserves to. Yeah, he deserves to be at the top of the card. He's not a mid-carder. I mean, and you watched what he did at Lucha Underground as Prince Puma. Was he Prince Puma? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, what this man can do in the ring is just beyond belief. I mean, if you don't even have to look at Lucha Underground, look what he did at NXT. He's feud with
I know. I was about to say that.
Okay.
There we go.
Just that feud.
That promo. Just that. No, not even the whole feud.
Just jumping out of the ring.
Yeah.
Without saying a single word. Ricochet deserves a title. He deserves to be WWE champion.
You know how WWE like that video promo, that constant loop, that little info bit where they can play on loop. There we go. That's the one.
Yeah.
But the only issue is they're gonna have to edit. They're gonna have to edit Velveteen Dream out somehow. I don't know how that's
say
working.
My name.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification to get notified of all the awesome content that we post here on PWC. Please, guys, leave your comments in the comment section below. You guys can disagree with us or agree with us. Let us know what you think. If you want to see more of these, tell us. We'll try and push out as much as we possibly can. I'm going to speak on behalf of these two guys. We had a lot of fun doing this. This is actually our second attempt at doing this video. The first one we did well, we just forgot the recording didn't come out that great. We've tested it this time. This time we're good because you're obviously watching it, so it has to be
we're
good.
We're almost 90% sure that this one's going to come out well.
Well, listen, if they're listening to this and then they listen to this rambling, then it came out well, all right? Yeah, so thanks again, guys, for watching. Please keep watching. Send those comments. Tell your friends, parents, grandparents, lovers, haters, whoever you like to please share our PWC channel on YouTube. From Nashville and from Jeremy and from myself, your mother's favorite podcaster, we'll check you guys again next time. Peace and chicken grease.